Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams and we're back with another one of our 24/7 news report videos. By now you know the score. We start with our headline news as always, and our headline news today is a bit of a blurry one really, a bit of a blunder by a journalist, which was ultimately rectified, and good old Fabrizio Romano tapped it in with his stamp of approval, which normally means it's definitely happening. But our headline news is that Newcastle United have made a £22.5 million bid for Lucas Digne, with Sean Longstaff offered to Everton as part of the deal. Digne has indicated he would prefer to move elsewhere. Chelsea and West Ham are interested. That was by Keith Downey from Sky Sports. He then later reported Everton want Longstaff and have made a bid. Newcastle are keen on keeping the midfielder. Talks have taken place over Digne and Newcastle are interested. However, no official bid has actually been placed. And then Fabrizio put, Lucas Digne is not going to join Newcastle. He has different plans. Chelsea are taking their time to decide the left back situation. Other Premier League teams are moving for Digne. He's leaving Everton this window, and that's done. That was obviously, a little bit of a tough one. We all knew Lucas Digne was going to leave this window. It was just a matter of when, not if. Newcastle, I saw this by Fabrizio. We got a lot of stick from Newcastle fans. I think they were a bit offended that Lucas Digne doesn't want to fight in a team in a relegation battle and would rather be at a team worthy of his calibre, regardless of the money. So the Chelseas of the world, the European champions, top 4 contenders, not bottom 3 contenders. So I can understand why he doesn't want to go to Newcastle, and I'm very glad he doesn't want to go, in all honesty. The original tweet by Keith Downey, the deal with Longstaff, I mean, if Lucas Digne rejects Newcastle flat out to the extent that we don't get Longstaff, I will like him even more, because I really don't want Sean Longstaff, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. I think it's sad though that we're forcing a player that, and there'll be people commenting going, he's not had a good season in like 3 seasons or whatever. There's a reason Chelsea are after him, in my opinion. He's still a very good left back. This is purely a spat. He doesn't want to go. This is purely looks like a spat with the manager. And again, if you're going to start arguing, well, how do you know that for sure? There is a trail of people that have left the club since Benitez comes in, and this is another, cross on there. And I'm sure there will be more players that he upsets along the way. He has a history of this, so I don't know for sure. You are right with that criticism, but his track record proves that this is a very much him type of thing to do. So maybe I am being a bit tough on the manager, but his track record goes to prove that this is very much his reputation that he has, for good reason. I think it's sad that regardless of all that, he doesn't, it's not like a team's come in with a good offer and we have to sell him, or he said, I want to go, I want to play for the champions of Europe. It's that we're forcing him out the door and are ready to sell him at a very low price, by the way. 22.5 million is a ridiculous price for a player in his prime at 28. But we're desperately trying to shove him to anyone. West Ham, Newcastle, really? That for me, that blows my mind, and it's a bit tough because there's a lot of things this season that haven't gone right at the club, but it seems to be one after another, and this I just can't understand. I mean, the saying cutting your nose off to spite your face rings a bell. I would much rather we keep Digne, and then you have Patterson learn from Coleman, Mikalenko learn from Digne, and that's the perfect way to go forward in my eyes. But obviously, the manager, who might not even be come a bad result to Hull and a batter into Leicester, or maybe even next season, doesn't want him, and I just think it's a bit of a shame that this is how his Everton career is going to end. And I think he enjoyed it for the majority, and I think he likes the fans. Obviously he's come to play for the money and everything else like footballers do, and I'm not saying he's going to die for Everton, but I think he enjoyed his time here, and this idea, I think you can enjoy your time at a club. You don't have to bleed blue if you cut him open, but he did enjoy it. I personally think. I think from what he said, stuff he's put on social media, he does like the fans, and it's just a really poor shame that this is how he's going to go out. We have the news now from Miles Starforth that Everton had made a bid for Sean Longstaff, as I mentioned, but it was rejected. Newcastle hope to agree to a new contract with him. which because his old one expires at the end of the season. They apparently rejected a bid of 1 million for Sean Longstaff. That's come from Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, and obviously 1 million. I mean, it's hard to criticise that, really, isn't it? I still don't want him. I think the best thing for him to do is stay at Newcastle, and they've got the money to be offering that now, and they will probably offer him quite a nice contract to keep him there. I don't want Longstaff. I think he's a Benitez signing, and the main reason is I don't think Benitez will be here in a year's time. I really don't. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. I think he's a couple more bad results from Yerry being forced to admit he was wrong and change it. And any other manager with this type of form is gone. It's worse than Walter Smith's record. It is. It's a really poor record. Managers get sacked for this type of form, especially in the Premier League. He's done very well to hold on. I think he's holding on out of spite that the club don't want to admit that they've got this very badly wrong, even though most of the fans were saying this isn't going to end well. So I think that keeps him on a little bit. The injuries have kept him a little bit. He's been unlucky, had a good start, a bit unlucky with the injuries. And I think the postponement of the last 3 games coming up to Christmas saved him a little bit, along with the Arsenal win and the draw against Chelsea. They obviously boosted his survival rate a little bit. I think if we'd played the games that were cancelled and lost them, we'd be talking about this a little bit differently. I just think some of the cards have gone against him, obviously, the injuries and all of that, but some of the cards have fell in his place a little bit more towards moving into the end of last year. We also have the news that Jean-Philippe Gbamin has been told he can leave Everton this month. Gbamin is likely to look for a loan, but Everton would be open to selling the midfielder. This is from Phil Kirkbride of the Echo. I feel really sorry for this guy, but it's just I don't think it's going to work, is it? I mean, a loan move wouldn't be awful, and then if he has a good, stay fit, has a good season, then we've got another midfielder. Which is apparently where we're looking to get anyway. With Longstaff, we've got a midfielder there. We just need to keep him fit. I'd be more open for a loan, but I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to sell him. It's just not worked, has it? And I can't really say much more than that. You can't say that he hasn't been good enough or he has been good enough, because he just doesn't get the chance. So, I mean, Gbamin, I think Everton will just look to cut their losses and try and recoup a bit of money. Next we have the news that Yerry Mina is a player under consideration for AC Milan. This comes from Corriere del Sport. We did run a poll on the Toffee Blues asking, would you sell Yerry Mina? So far 2,632 of you have voted. 55% said yes, sell him. 45% said no. I guess it depends on the price. I actually really like Yerry Mina. I think he's one of our better centre-backs. I think the only problem with him is that he can't stay fit very well, and that is a massive problem. But he's still a very good player. AC Milan aren't a rubbish. They're not the giants they were, don't get me wrong, but they're not a rubbish club. Obviously, he's a good player still, and he's attracting interest from good clubs. I hope we don't sell him, but again, I can sort of understand I mean, there's centre backs I would sell before him easily. There's centre backs I think we should try and ship on before him. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Apparently, there were talks in the summer that Benitez wanted to get rid of Mina. We'll have to wait and see. We also have the news that West Ham are considering a move for Luca Dean. I mentioned that earlier on, but this was confirmed by Jack Rosser of Standard Sport. He put that they would have to break their wage structure in order to sign him. And then The Athletic have also reported Luca Dean is now pushing for a move after the fallout with Benitez. Everton are looking to coop a big fee for him. The player wants to join a club that plays in European football, preferably the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, the club should be looking for a big fee, really. You shouldn't be letting a player in his prime, I'm going to say this again, 28 is your prime years as a footballer. You shouldn't be letting your prime left back in his prime years go for anything less than 25 million is too little. 30 I'd accept is the lowest. If that's just my personal opinion, some of you might be thinking, nah, just get rid. No, you want 30, especially with our situation where financial fair play is so bad. You want to recoup as much money as possible because it allows you the most freedom. Like, I understand with with the millions that Yerry puts in, we no longer have to sell for big prices to buy, like we did in a bygone era. But now we're restrained by the rules, and if we can sell him for a bigger fee, it gives us bigger space to mess around with, and sign more players. So you should still be looking, even if our fortune has improved, to be selling him for the highest. And you should anyway, because that's how a club gets sustainable, is selling their players for the reasonable price, not low cutting themselves. We also have Cenk Tosun, who mentions his future at the club. He says, my contract ends at the end of this season. Besiktas is my home anyway, but for now I have no intention or position to return. However, I want to finish the season here and go somewhere at the end of the season. That's from Fanatic. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes back to Besiktas. He's mentioned that's his home. He's pound for pound, he's going to be up there for one of the worst signings, especially in the Majiri era. Supposedly, Majiri had a big influence on this, and Iwobi, according to the reports, because he watched Cenk Tosun in Monaco for Besiktas versus Monaco. Awful. If he goes back to Besiktas, I mean, should have just got him on loan, really, shouldn't we? It's throwing money away for the sake of throwing money away for what it's revert back to how it was. Obviously, Cenk Tosun won't be going back the same player. He's had really bad knee operations and stuff like that, but he'll be a lot happier there, and that's maybe his level as well. But yeah, there's another player that just didn't work out. I did see some stats before breaking down how much he earned and just expressing how bad this was of a transfer. Didn't take note of them though, because everyone watching this is probably an Everton fan and will tell you enough how bad Cenk Tosun sort of deal is. Speaking of bad deals, or not so much bad deals, but not learning from mistakes, Everton are monitoring Lyon midfielder Bruno Guimaraes. It's understood that any deal is likely to see Kia Chubrichin as the intermediary. Giolino Bertolucci, who also works alongside Chubrichin, would help bring Guimaraes to England. That's come from Chris Wheatley, who's a chief Arsenal reporter for Football London. And the only reason I said the previous comment before announcing that was because this midfielder's younger. He's a midfielder. He's Brazilian. I like what I see at Lyon. The only reason I say it is because, once again, Kia Chubrichin, I'm going to pronounce it as, is having an input at Everton Football Club. There were rumours that he was having an input with the Iwobi transfer. God knows what type of money we'll be trying to throw to get him though. And it's just this. This for me is why we're in this mess. We don't seem to be learning from the mistakes we make. We shouldn't have agents being involved like this. He's not part of Everton. Leave it to the director of football, which we don't have anymore, or a manager who's competent enough. I mean, at least with Longstaff, the manager who's buying the players, and that's how it should be. I don't like his choices, but you have to give credit where credit's due. That, if you don't have a director of football, is who that responsibility lays on, is the manager, because he knows his tactics, he knows his teams, he knows how he wants them to be played, and he knows the type of players. You shouldn't have, agents saying, oh, he'd be good for you, or the owner going, I watched him last week, he looks good. No, the manager needs to decide, and his scouting staff, they need to work together. That's why you hire scouts and analysts and a manager and a director of football, so leave that to them. An agent is only in this game for themselves, in my opinion. I've never met an agent, not that I meet them. I've never mentioned or heard of an agent that's in it, for the football or for his client. It's normally in it because you get a pretty decent package and you don't do much of the hard work. So again, just avoid listening to agents. They're not your friends. They're after your money. Lastly, and this is some positive news on what has been a bit of a grim 24/7 news report. Everton's under-18s defender Roman Dixon has signed a first-team professional contract, which will end at 2024. I mean, I couldn't tell you a lot about him, but it's just nice to have some sort of good news, and that's being nice. I guess that's quite good news. Hopefully he ends up being in the first team. We've got a bit of a younger squad going with Patterson and Mikalenko. I said to Mike the other day from the Unholy Trinity podcast when we did about Patterson, the squad's sort of getting younger. We're starting to sign younger players. I quite like that. Keep it like that. Don't sign 29, 30-year-old Aaron Ramseys, Coutinho's, that ilk. sign young players who are hungry, got a bit of fire, got a bit of desire, and promote your youth as well, because what's the point in having a youth system if you're not going to use it? But that is everything we've got time for today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below on any of the stuff I've discussed today. There's a lot of you know, stuff in there to get your teeth into. There's the Luca Digne situation, there's the Sean Longstaff situation, there's a Bruno Guimaraes, and let me know about this Kia Tuberin. Do you think he should have an opinion on football? And I apologise, I know I've probably butchered his name. I will learn it for the next video, because apparently, you know, he's quite involved with us. Yeah, just let me know any of the stuff I've spoken about today. There's plenty for you to get into, and most importantly, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.